so much for joining us this morning. We bring these videos to you just to give you, the on-site managers, an opportunity to hear from experts in the industry and equip you with information that they've learned through years of experience. Today we have Stephen West, and he has, aside from vast experience, he's currently the asset director for both Wave, not both, but several, for Wave, Reflections on Coolangatta, Turtle Beach and Turtle Bay. And what's impressed me the most is I have had first-hand experience in going to his complexes and viewing firsthand the very proactive ways in which he has increased occupancy and exposure to the market. So thank you so much, Stephen, for joining us this morning. We're waiting to hear the pearls of wisdom.
Thanks for having me, Christine.
Okay, you told me first about, well, basically we're going to be discussing the different ways in which you have actually increased occupancy, which results in an increase in yield in different complexes. You've discussed you had a three-prong approach.
Correct. I think you really need to be looking at the business today and where you want it to be in a year's time, at least a year down the track. Marketing doesn't happen overnight, and you can't be selling tomorrow's you can't be selling tomorrow's vacancy today. There needs to be a lot of planning put into the strategies that you employ for your property, and all properties are exactly the same. The strategies that we've employed now based on the consumer in the marketplace, which has changed a lot since the GFC. We have three strategies generally for each property. One where we're looking for commitment way down the track, maybe up to 12 months, where we'll offer a advance purchase type arrangement. This can involve 100% cancellation fee, but they're getting a very good rate. The good thing about that is that you're locking those rooms away for that period of time, and you don't need to worry about those anymore. You then should be looking at a strategy for last minute, so selling stock within 28 days of arrival, where you are really examining what monies you are holding, what you would like to hold, and what the difference is in between. There's some great OTAs out there now that work very closely with all properties.
For the beginners in this industry, remember there's some people just starting next week, OTAs.
OTAs, online travel agencies such as the What Ifs, the Booking.coms. They're very dominant in the marketplace, and where you would think a brochure in a travel agency would give you good exposure, these people are talking to anybody with an internet connection around the world. So you're getting global coverage for commission around 10 to 15%. And a lot of people do balk at commissions of 10 to 15%, but it's sensible marketing money to be spending this, because doing it by yourself with only relying on products such as, say, Google Words really won't grow your business at all. The third part of the strategy we have is the direct strategy. So how can we increase more direct business with the property without affecting OTA relationships or wholesaler relationships? We look at various packages that we can put together with the accommodation as well. And even if you've got nothing on site yourself, many of our properties have restaurants on site or gaming facilities like putt-putt or tennis, for example. You need to be able to bundle things together to make it look like a fully inclusive package for the consumer, just to give yourself some differentiation from your next door neighbour, because if you're not doing it, they might be doing it.
That sounds interesting. Now, you were saying as well prior to this interview that we are not exactly going to be marketing peak days. Can you introduce that topic again?
I think you've got to get your numbers correct before you decide what your strategies are going to be. You need to examine which parts of the year you consider peak and which the consumer consider peak. Most of our properties work on about 12 weeks of the year, peak altogether, and the other 40 weeks are the low season. With the low season, it's critical to get your numbers right there, because that's got the highest multiplier in it, 40 weeks, so anything you are doing is timed by 40. The strategy to get that right is to look at what return to the owners is required and then build from that point on. Have a look at your room stock, see what your biggest number of units are within the categories, whether they're 2-bedroom standards, 1-bedroom superiors, 3-bedroom, whatever, it doesn't matter. Make sure you get your numbers correct specifically on the biggest number, because this is the number that will affect all of your numbers with your income. So if you've got 50 2-bedroom superior apartments and 10 one-bedders, it's critical you get the 2-bedroom number correct. It's also very important to get the 1-bedroom correct, but more critical to get the bigger number, because in management rights everything works on multipliers, and if you've got 50 owners and you can somehow extract $1 per month from them, 50 times 1 times 12 times your multiplier is where the money's going into the bank for the businesses.
See, the magic of the multiplier does not end when you buy.
It doesn't at all.
Or when you sell.
Correct.
So it goes on forever.
Yeah. And as I was told way back, you really need to plan your exit strategy from day one, and this is getting all of these numbers right to get your dollars in the bank way up as high as you can whilst you are there.
Now, say somebody's coming in, this is his first week, and I actually have some people coming in on July 1, their first holiday resort buildings, etc. What advice do you have for them?
Don't change anything in the first week.
I like that.
You really need to go with the flow, because that's what you've bought, you've examined the figures, that's what you're determining your business purchase on. It would be silly to go in the first couple of weeks, change the linen company or change this or change that. But by the same token, don't fall into the trap and overcommit yourself in that first couple of weeks. If you have contractors dealing with the building that have been there for a while, let them know you need a couple of months to settle in and build that relationship with them. The linen contract, for example, with the property may suit, but you may look at alternates, but you don't want to be doing that in the first couple of weeks. Your first couple of weeks are working out what the important parts of the business are, where the off switches are for everything that supplies the building, working out how each day of the week works, and working closely with your existing suppliers, with any existing contractors such as cleaners, and just assessing the business and getting used to where the money's coming in from. It's foolhardy to go out and change things in that first short period, but have in the back of your mind, if you do have plans, how will those plans fit in, or how will you be able to work towards that plan once you get a bit of knowledge about the building. And this goes for experienced operators as well. Every single building is different, and the only reason I can really speak from the heart, I have control of 8 buildings altogether, and it's every single building is different.
You're absolutely right. Actually, this is a promise I do give to every single new owner out there. Is the first 3 to 6 months, you will pull your hair out, you will want to go home, you will call me up and cry and say, I give up. But really, it's just like driving a stick shift. Those first few months, it's learning to do everything at the same time. So learning everything simultaneously, where the light switch is, who the best sparky is going to be, when they'll show up. When you finally get a handle on all that, that's actually when you can put in the changes. But being new in the industry, what would be the most critical, the first new thing you could introduce to increase occupancy?
The advice I'd get, a lot of data that you already have within your reservation system, your previous guest database, go out to the previous guests that stayed with you. Let them know there are new managers on site, this is what we're doing at the building, we'd love to meet you again, please come back. People that have stayed with you previously know your building, know the location, and have stayed there because they chose to at that time. You may not get everybody back, but gee, if you could get 10% back, that's 10% more than you may have got back.
Out of a database that usually reaches to the thousands.
And the critical thing with database as well, going back to day one of the business, make sure you're getting as much data as you can from your guests. Their email address is critical. If you're not getting this data from them, you're missing out on a big opportunity for future campaigns and future communications. Email communications are basically free of charge these days, and it's the most effective way of reaching a big group with a special.
That's so true. Okay, now these specials that you offer, you can obviously go out there and with the savings you make on the booking sites, you can offer a discount. Do you feel like there's a little balance that you have to play with the on-site advertising companies such as What Is, Bookings.com, etc., and your direct bookings, or it's just whatever you can bring in directly, it's fair go and good job?
I believe in the second. I believe a little bit in both parts that you've just asked there. You do need to maintain the relationship balance, especially if they're bringing in a major portion of your business. One of our properties relies almost 45% on wholesalers and OTAs. So we need to maintain that relationship. We can't just slam the door in their face every day. Find out what price matching is about and find out what commission matching is also about. Often you will be approached to match a price that a consumer has got directly from you with an OTA or with a wholesaler. That's just unfortunately a part of business. You can dig your heels in and say, not interested in matching the price and lose that customer forever. Or you can compromise and work out if there's maybe a cut in the commission to the agent or a different type of rate, which will work out in a win-win situation. Because at the end of the day, the whole aim is selling that empty bed that will remain empty until you have guests booked into that room.
Brilliant. Okay. Something I've also noticed from how you've done your business is you've taken a complex that basically was almost run-of-the-mill and introduced like water parks or child minding services. You've been very proactive and actually ingenious about creating these situations to draw a crowd in. For the person who's taking over a complex that's not exactly going to invest in a water park, what would you suggest to be proactive and to offer something different or make a point of difference with their complex?
Don't fall into the trap of when you buy a business, even from an original manager, thinking that they have exhausted all possibilities. They're probably more exhausted themselves and have run out of ideas.
That sounds about right. And
have run out of ideas, or they're just happy with the way the business is operating at the time. Have a look around what's in the marketplace, who you're competing with, and one of the important things is your demographic. If that building currently really appeals to couples, you're really going out on a limb thinking that you're going to get families or try and introducing kids activities to that building. You'd be better off working in liaison with a local restaurant and building meal packages or dinner packages. But if it is if it lacks direction, that's probably a time when you can make the decision which way do you want to go with this, and whether it's having established bedding for the family rather than rollaways. You really need to define who's going to be staying in that room and what their price category is too. It's no good spending a fortune or convincing owners to spend fortunes on renovations with furnishings that won't suit the families that will be staying in those apartments.
That's true. You've been very proactive about bringing yield and occupancy into all the different complexes that you've been managing or just having a hand on. You mentioned there were 8, not just the ones that I mentioned previously. And I'm sure not even including a few secret ones that are coming around the bend here. But you have been a wellspring of information, and everybody or anybody is well advised to give you a call, tap you on the shoulder, and just share some of that knowledge you have just overflowing. So thank you so much for joining us and gifting us with all this information. And I'm sure that all of you out there have benefited from this conversation, and that's exactly why we do this.